I suggest you sit back and relax, because this video is probably going to be a little longer, really detailed, and maybe a little complicated. But I've been talking about our storage solutions in various small kind of videos throughout this YouTube channel. And in this video, I want to piece the entire thing together and show you our entire workflow from start to finish. And since I'm pretty much doing YouTube full time, but also work as a commercial filmmaker on the side, there should be something for everyone. For the aspiring YouTuber who wants to know what kind of storage solution might fit their needs, but also the occasional shooter that only has 1 or 2 projects a month that actually wants to see what kind of workflow would fit their needs. So in this video I will talk about our overall workflow, our working drives, our mobile backup, our archive drives, and our policies on when we delete footage, and so on and so forth. So let's not waste any more time, except for the intro.
We've got some fresh new young talent doing some things that I know you haven't heard before.
1, 2, 3, listen.
We've been changing our storage solutions so many times, and we are always looking for the perfect solution to have the best balance between high quality and storage needs. Because when shooting in 4K RAW on the C200 or C300 Mark III, or even ProRes or B-RAW on the Pocket 6K, you get a lot of footage and a lot of storage really quickly. I know, I talked in an earlier video about should you shoot 4K in 2020, that mostly it doesn't really make a lot of sense, and maybe shooting 1080 is the best option for you. But on the other hand, we do have a filmmaking channel and I'm a huge quality junkie, and I really couldn't justify shooting 1080. I can't even justify shooting MP4 4K on a C200, for example, and everything you see is recorded in RAW in a really high quality, even these YouTube talking heads, because this is what I'm passionate about, and that doesn't always translate only to client work, but also for our personal projects and even these YouTube videos. I want to have the best and highest quality at all times. But racking up so much storage, I just can't afford or justify the cost of it, so we needed to find the perfect balance. As I've already said, we try to have the highest quality possible on all our videos. On our Pocket 6K, we are mainly shooting ProRes 422 or ProRes HQ, and on our C300 Mark III, we're basically shooting nothing but RAW. So let me walk you through our workflow. First, after a shoot, and that could be a commercial shoot as well as YouTube content or even a talking head like this, we obviously take all our memory cards and ingest them into our computer. And here we already differentiate between 2 sources. Number 1 is commercial client work or other important work, as well as our YouTube short films, and I call them monkey movies, like our model shoots or dedicated short films. So basically everything that is high quality and that we want to keep goes onto a 2 TB T5 working drive. As a second drive, we have a 4 TB Western Digital hard drive, and that is attached to our computer and is set to back up the 2 TB T5 drive every day at 1:30 AM. So this means our working drive is always backed up, and our client work as well as our high quality YouTube work is always backed up at all times. One thing I always suggest doing is after you copy them over, you check the files real quick and make sure that there's no corrupted files, because it can happen that you damage some files in the copying process, and there's absolutely no sense in having 2 copies of a corrupted file, so make sure that all the files you copied are actually intact. So with this method, in the worst case scenario, I can basically use 23 hours of our shooting progress. But in reality, that can't really happen, because usually I transfer all the footage from the memory card and I leave them on the memory card until the next day, until the backup has happened. So there's really hardly any chance that this important footage actually goes lost, unless we have a fire or a flooding or somebody breaks into our apartment. So this was our most important client work, but we also have a lot of our YouTube content, and that includes these talking heads as well as B-roll of some products, basically everything that I can easily recreate when lost. And this I copy over to a YouTube 4 TB hard drive, and I already talked about this hard drive in a separate video, which I will link up here. And this hard drive just isn't backed up for several reasons. One is just being cost, the second one is just the ease of use, because when I'm traveling I don't want to lug around 4 hard drives that are connected to my computer at all times. And since all of the content is content that I could easily recreate, this isn't really as important to us as our client footage. So let's talk about our editing process. Now we have all our unedited client work on our T5 2TB hard drive. And one of our projects usually ranges between 300 gigabytes to a terabyte, where the average is usually between 300 and 500 gigabytes per project. So that gives us at least 6 videos that are currently on our T5 working drive, which is plenty because I usually never have more than 6 videos that aren't currently edited in our pipeline. Once I have finished editing a video, the client has signed off on it and already paid their bill, I do the following. I take the final exported video and upload it to Dropbox, just to have another layer of backup and also make it accessible from all over the world. The next step I do is I take the entire project and copy it over to our 24 terabyte RAID 5 archive drive. And I already talked about this drive in a separate video as well, so I will link this one up here as well. And now there's the next differentiation process. And this differentiates between a very important project and one that isn't as important. For example, our commercial client work, where we shoot a lot of testimonials or image films for our clients, they tend to come up after a year and want some changes because maybe they want to integrate a new member of their team, or they want to have something changed, or we need the original footage to do something with it. So this is our very important tier 1 footage. And this one will be backed up to another hard drive. And we currently have a 10 terabyte hard drive that is just for very important videos, and I will talk about other solutions later in the video. The other type of video is basically our model shoots and YouTube short films. I still want to keep the original files because sometimes I need them for a highlight reel, or I want to do some before and afters, or advertise our LUTs that you can purchase on our website, but I definitely need the original files. But then again, they're not as important that I need an extra layer of backup for it, so the RAID 5 that is just standing on my desk is usually fine for that. So this is our current setup, and I'll be 100% honest with you, this is due to limited budgets right now. In a perfect world, I would have a huge RAID system, a RAID 5 or RAID 6 with around 40 to 80 terabytes that I can actually work off as well. And then I would have an archive drive like our 24 terabyte to back up the entire thing again. So I would have 2 layers of backups on our archive drives as well. But as it currently stands, we just can't afford it, and this is something that we're looking forward to in the future. But as of right now, we need to have this manual solution where we decide between our tier 1 and tier 2 important footage and just copy it over manually to a separate drive. And if you're really ambitious, you take that second drive and put it into a separate location, maybe to your neighbors, or maybe not your neighbors, but maybe to your mother's place or your best friend's place, or if you have an office and a separate apartment, just separate the footage from each other, so if somebody breaks in or you have a fire or a flood, that you still have the most important original files in a separate location. So I've already talked about this in a separate video as well, but this is a long time ago. So we have this kind of policy where we have our client work and we store this for free for about a year. And if the client doesn't come up to us and they don't want to have any changes or any other videos shot, then we actually hit them up and ask them if they want us to keep the footage. And if so, we actually charge them a retainer for keeping the footage. And if they don't want us to keep the footage, we just delete it, because we definitely won't keep all of our client files forever unless we really want to have them integrated in our highlight reels or for some kind of future projects for ourselves. So now let's get back to our YouTube content. As I've already said, I'm recording our YouTube talking heads in the highest quality. So one of these talking heads easily ranges from 100 gigabytes to sometimes 200 gigabytes. So obviously there's no need in keeping them for a longer time. In about 2 years of doing YouTube, I have never needed the original talking head to re-edit something. So usually once the video is on YouTube, I delete the talking head just to save space. But when it comes to the exported video, I do pretty much the same as I've done with the more important videos. That I take the exported video and upload it to Dropbox, just to have an extra layer of security. After a video is done and I know that I don't need the original footage for something else, I just go ahead and delete it because, like I said, when uploading 2 to 3 videos a week, it's just so much hard drive space that we can't afford. So what I usually do is I export the final video that goes up on YouTube, and then I export a separate version without any kind of titles. So when I need the footage, it's already graded and I'll just take it out of the exported version. So in an ideal world, that 4 terabyte YouTube drive lasts me a long time, because 4 terabyte is enough overhead to actually shoot a couple of YouTube tutorials in advance, or even use some B-roll that I know that I'm going to use for a later project and just keep it for the time being. But then when everything is done and I know I won't need that footage anymore, I can delete it. So there you have it. This is our entire storage solution that we use in 2020. And I think it's one of the most budget friendliest as well as one of the most secure ways to actually store your footage. And that counts for YouTubers who create a lot of content that isn't really that important that you need to keep every single file, but also for the people that shoot high-end commercial work on a regular basis and want to have the extra layer of security. And this entire workflow allows us to shoot one of the highest quality videos at all time and don't have to make any sacrifices and step down to 1080 or some higher compression rates. So let me know in the comments below, what is your storage solution right now, and maybe you could take away something from our storage workflow and maybe implement some of it into your business. And if you did, I hope you give this video a thumbs up as always, because it helps our channel grow. And if you like, you could also subscribe for more tutorials, behind the scenes and all kinds of content on our YouTube channel. I hope to see you on the next one.